Chapter 17. The Serpent Pit. As ordinary fire could not hurt the Jade Loot Spectre, Jiang Ziya began to spurt divine fire from his mouth, nostrils, and eyes. It was produced by tempering breath with vital energies and his own spirit. When this divine fire was applied, the spectre's defenses broke down. She struggled to get up, crying, "Jiang Ziya, there's no enmity between us. How can you burn me so ruthlessly?" Hearing her cries amidst the flames, King Zhou was struck dumb with terror and broke out in a cold sweat. "Please go inside, Your Majesty. Thunder's approaching." Jiang Ziya directed him, opening both palms towards the sky. Great thunderbolts crashed and the earth shook. The fire went out and the smoke dispersed, revealing a jade lute lying on the ground. Now the specters returned to its original form. King Zhou told Daji. She was devastated by what had happened. "Sister, I must take revenge for you and kill him. He and I cannot exist at the same time," she murmured silently. She then forced a smile and suggested, "Send for the jade lute. When I've strung it, I can play it day and night for Your Majesty's enjoyment. Jiang Ziya's highly talented. You should give him a post so that he can protect you." "Excellent idea, Queen." King Zhou agreed. He ordered, "Bring the jade lute into the star-picking mansion. Jiang Ziya is hereby appointed junior minister and director of the Imperial Observatory." Jiang Ziya thanked the king for the appointment and returned to Song Yiren's mansion in his official hat and robes. Song Yiren then held a banquet to honor his promotion, inviting his relatives and friends. The celebration lasted several days. Meanwhile, Daji placed the jade lute in the highest part of the star-picking mansion so that it could absorb the spiritual essences from heaven, earth, the sun, and the moon. This way, in 5 years, it would become a specter again and help Daji bring about the fall of the Shang dynasty. One day, King Zhou was drinking in the star-picking mansion when Daji began to sing and dance to entertain him. She was applauded by all the concubines and maidservants, except for about 70 palace maids who only shed silent tears. Seeing this, Daji stopped and sent her people to inquire which palace they belonged to. When it was reported that they had been maids of Queen Jiang, Daji was furious. Their mistress deserved to die for her treachery. Why are they so deeply sympathetic towards her? They'll be a source of trouble within the palace if they're not dealt with. She cried and told King Zhou as much. King Zhou also flared up. "Take them all downstairs and beat them to death with gold hammers," he ordered. "Your Majesty, there's no need to beat the rebels to death at once. Put them in isolation temporarily while I devise a plan to eradicate this evil from the palace," she said. The palace maids were taken to the court prison. Daji told King Zhou, "Dig a pit in front of the star-picking mansion, 240 feet in circumference and 50 in depth. Ask for 4 snakes from each household in the capital and place them in the pit. The palace maids are to be stripped and thrown in the pit among the serpents. This wonderful idea of yours is sure to rid the palace of this serious menace." King Zhou praised. He ordered at once to post a decree on the walls of the capital demanding that serpents be submitted to the Dragon Virtue Hall on the fixed date. It stirred the whole capital into a fever of activity. From morning till night, the streets were crowded with people rushing towards the palace to hand in their serpents. Traffic was disrupted and the city was in chaos. Soon there were no more serpents in the capital, and people rushed to other counties beyond Zhaoge to buy them to meet the king's demands. One day, Supreme Minister Zhaoge was reading documents in the secretariat when he saw crowds of people with baskets in their hands hurrying into the palace. "What's in their baskets?" he asked the chief of guards. "The serpents that the king demands." He was astonished. "What does His Majesty want them for?" "Sorry, I don't know, Supreme Minister." Zhaoge left his office and walked to the Grand Hall. When people bowed to him, he asked, "What do you have in your baskets?" A royal decree posted on the city gates requires that every household contribute 4 serpents to the palace. We're here to hand them in, but we don't know what His Majesty wants them for. Jiao Ge had just returned to his office when Prince Huang Feihu, Bigan, Wei Zi, Jizi, Yang Ren, and Yang Xiu arrived unexpectedly. After the customary exchange of greetings, Jiao Ge asked, "Fellow ministers, His Majesty's ordered every household in the capital to contribute 4 serpents to the palace. Do you know what His Majesty wants them for? When I was returning from the military exercises, I heard the people complaining about the royal decree. I've to come here to inquire what it's all about." Huang Feihu replied, "We know nothing about it either." Bigan and Jizi said, "Since none of us knows, let's ask the chief of guards." Huang Feihu suggested and sent for him. "Do as I tell you." He instructed when the chief of guards had come. "Try to find out what His Majesty wants the serpents for. If you find out the truth, you'll be well rewarded." The chief of guards departed, and the ministers returned home. 5 or 6 days later, the collection of serpents had been completed. The pit's already full of serpents. "What do you plan to do with them, my queen?" the king asked Daji. "Your Majesty may order that the imprisoned maids be stripped, bound, then pushed into the pit for the serpents to eat alive. Without this drastic punishment, I'm afraid we would find it impossible to eliminate the deep-rooted evil from the palace." King Zhou praised her ingenuity and gave his orders to the palace guards. The palace maids were led out to the brink of the pit. Looking down at the venomous serpents writhing and spitting below, the poor women were utterly horrified and began to scream and moan. Jiao Ge was in his office and heard the women's bitter cries. He was on his way to investigate when the chief of guards ran up to him. "Sir, His Majesty's put all the serpents into a huge pit and will feed them on the 72 palace maids today. This information's completely accurate. I've made haste to inform you." The report stunned Jiao Ge. He immediately made his way to the star-picking mansion. There he saw the palace maids, bound, naked, sobbing, and wailing. It was a horrifying sight. "This is an outrage. I must admonish His Majesty against it," he roared at the top of his voice. King Zhou was just about to amuse himself by watching the serpents devour the maids when Jiao Ge unexpectedly requested to see him. He ordered to admit him. As Jiao Ge knelt down, he asked, "What do you have to say?" Jiao Ge wept. "By using torture, you'll destroy the close relationship between yourself and your ministers, and you'll bring chaos on the kingdom." He began. "The maids are all innocent, yet you're sending them to such a cruel death. Yesterday I saw people coming here with the serpents, and everyone was full of complaints. They've suffered from flood and drought, and were further compelled to go as far as 100 li away for the serpents. Poverty drives them to become outlaw, and outlaws endanger the kingdom. In addition, wars ravaging the North Sea district, and hundreds of marquises in the east and south have rebelled. If the country cannot remain in peace, the dynasty is in danger. In spite of all this, Your Majesty refuses to practice virtuous government and commits new atrocities daily. Never since Pan Gu created the world has such a situation prevailed. Which ruler in all of history has ever used this form of torture? The palace maids are wicked. We cannot deal with them by any other means, so we devised this serpent pit. They'll suffer unbearable agony. How could you bear to watch, and what pleasure could it give you? Furthermore, they're all women and have served you day and night, obeying your orders. They've done nothing to deserve such cruel torture. I beg Your Majesty to forgive them. Let them live as heaven would desire." Jiao Ge admonished emotionally. "Though what you've said seems to be reasonable, the conspiracy plotted by these women cannot be dismissed lightly. If they're not punished like this, they're likely to continue their subversive ways." Jiao Ge grew angry. The king's the head of a body and his ministers are the limbs. The king should try to be a wise and beloved parent. But you're ruthless and devoid of virtue. You reject wise advice from the loyal and use cruel torture without the slightest remorse. You've murdered the innocent East Grand Duke and South Grand Duke, as well as those who admonished you against the burning pillars. Now you intend to send the guiltless maids into the serpent pit. All you know is drink and lust." He cried, "You must mend your evil ways. Keep your distance from Daji and the minions and turn to the loyal and worthy. Only then can the state be saved and peace be brought to the land. I demand that your majesty give this precedence over all else. You mustn't trust the words of women." King Zhou was furious. "You damned wretch! How dare you insult your monarch like this? You deserve death," he ordered. "Guards, seize this wretch, strip him naked, and throw him into the serpent pit." As the guards moved forward, Zhao Ge shouted, "You damned tyrant! I can't bear to see the Shang dynasty fall into the hands of somebody else. Though I'll die, I'll find no peace. Furthermore, I hold the post of Supreme Admonishing Minister. How can you unlawfully send me to the serpent pit for admonishing you?" He pointed at King Zhou and swore, "You damned tyrant! You're bound to meet your doom before long." He ran to a window and threw himself out. His skull smashed on the ground below, and he died in a pool of blood. But King Zhou's wrath remained unabated. "Throw the palace maids and his corpse into the serpent pit to feed the serpents," he ordered. The maids cried, "Heaven! We've done nothing wrong, but he sends us to a cruel death. Daji, you damned bitch! Though we can't bite your flesh off while alive, we'll devour your soul when we're dead." King Zhou watched as they were thrown into the pit. The serpents coiled about them, devouring their flesh and boring into their intestines. All died very tragically. "If we hadn't invented this torture, how could we rid the palace of this scourge?" Daji said. King Zhou patted her on the back and praised her. "This ingenious invention of yours is really too wonderful for words. Your Majesty may dig a second pit to the left of this one. Have hills of distillers' grain heaped up inside it, and cover them with a forest of tree branches hung with thin slices of meat. Then you'll have a meat forest. Dig a pool to the right of the serpent pit, fill it with wine, and you'll have what's called a wine pool. Your Majesty's master of the kingdom and should enjoy boundless wealth and power. Only your Majesty should be privileged to enjoy the meat forest and wine pool, nobody else." Daji suggested, "My dear queen, you really are wonderful. You can think of such marvelous inventions," the king said admiringly. Some days later, when both the meat forest and wine pool had been completed, the king held a feast to enjoy them with Daji. While they were drinking, Daji came up with another suggestion. "As we're tired of music and dance, let the palace maids wrestle with the eunuchs. The winners may drink from the wine pool, while the losers, unfit to serve you, must be beaten to death with gold hammers and thrown into the meat forest." King Zhou promptly agreed to her proposal, and ordered that wrestling matches between palace maids and eunuchs be held at once. Great was their suffering, and many of them met cruel deaths. But why was Daji interested in having the maids and eunuchs murdered and their corpses thrown into the meat forest? It was because late every night, the fox sprite assumed her real form and nourished her body and spirit by devouring the flesh and sucking the blood from the corpses. Adoring Daji to the utmost degree, King Zhou lived extravagantly, neglecting government affairs and wallowing in sexual pleasures. One day, Daji suddenly remembered the humiliation the Jade Loot Spectre had suffered at the hands of Jiang Ziya, and devised a plot to have him put to death. She designed a magnificent building complex, and showed her drawing to the tipsy king when they were drinking at the star-picking mansion. It was a huge terrace 49 feet high, on which stood splendid jeweled halls and towers, with jade beams and agate railings that shone brightly in the darkness. She named it the Happy Terrace. As King Zhou was looking over the design, Daji said, "Your Majesty's the ruler of the country and the Son of Heaven. Nothing other than this magnificent construction is sufficient to manifest your prestige and dignity. The terrace would be exactly like a jade palace in the Penglai fairyland. When you hold feasts there, celestial beings would come down from heaven to participate. By meeting them, you could attain longevity and unbounded power and happiness. You and I can then live happily together, enjoying all the riches and honors of this world. Who would be qualified to oversee the construction of such an immense complex? The overseer must not only be an architect, but also have a thorough understanding of yin and yang. As I can see it, no one but Jiang Sheng is qualified to undertake the task. Daji said unhesitatingly. King Zhou promptly ordered, "Send for Jiang Sheng." The royal messenger found Jiang Ziya in Bi Gan's office. Jiang Ziya received the royal order, expressed his thanks for the honor of meeting His Majesty, and then told the messenger, "You may leave for the palace first. I'll be there shortly." After the messenger left, Jiang Ziya quickly made a divination and found to his surprise that great danger was imminent. He bade farewell to Bi Gan, saying, "I'll always appreciate your kindness and help. I'm sorry that I don't know when I'll have the opportunity to see you again." "Why do you say that?" "I just made a divination and found that today I'll encounter a misfortune which I'll be unable to avoid. But you aren't an appointed admonitor, and it's a good sign that he's about to receive you. Just do as he instructs, and there can be no danger at all. I've written a note and placed it under your ink slab. If you face a calamity in the future and cannot find a way out, you may read it. It will help you to avert the disaster. I'm sorry, there's nothing more I can do to return your kindness." Jiang Ziya rode to the palace gate, and then made his way to the star-picking mansion to see King Zhou. "I've appointed you to oversee the construction of the Happy Terrace for me. As soon as it's completed, I'll reward you with a promotion," the king said, showing him the project. Jiang Ziya looked over the design. "As Zhaoga's not the place for me to stay long, I must try my best to admonish this tyrant. It's certain that he won't listen to me, but will fly into a rage and try to hurt me. I must get out of here and hide myself," he decided. If you want to know what became of Jiang Ziya, you must read the next chapter.